what I'm incredibly strong at, and I feel comfortable saying this, I think I stink at most things, like every other person, bless you. But I think maybe one of my greatest core strengths is being able to make hard decisions when I'm no longer happy. And I fight for that. It's something I think about every day. And so for me, it was really easy because I'm only talking to you about emotional things. The laws of diminishing returns were never real for me on physical things. I don't want anything. I don't need stuff. I don't want stuff. I want to feel. And so usually for me, it's, you know, going through a journey. I'll give you a good example. For the first 10, 12 years of my growth as a public figure, when I would walk through an airport, I would look at every single person dead in their face with the hopes that they knew who I was so we could talk. Now, because of hitting enough of a level of that, and it wasn't so much that I needed it for my ego, though I always try to ask myself that. It goes back to what I said earlier. I just really enjoy interacting with people. I like it so much. But I equally like my alone time, and so what ended up happening was walking through an airport used to be 100% alone. Now that it could be predominantly taken up by people saying hello, wanting to pitch me their business or tell me a story or take a photo, now I'm valuing having a little balance of my own time during that time to catch up on work or family or whatever I'm doing. So I don't look at every person in the face anymore when I'm at the airport. I noticed that today even, right? And so I adjusted. There was a point 2 years ago, 3 years ago where I just changed. And so the answer is I'm not sure, brother, but what I would tell everybody is I don't sit on it the way most normal people do. And I say normal people, like I'm just so, this goes back to gratitude. I'm not sure how I got that, DNA, I don't know, like I don't know what happened, but I don't tend to sit in a place of unhappiness very long. I can't function there. I really can't. That's what led to my weakness of candor. I don't like negativity. Right? And so I don't know, but I also know that the second I start feeling it, if it sits for a sustained period of time, I'm not knee jerk. I can deal with inconvenience or even dealing with a difficult situation, but I will not dwell in it. I think one thing my parents definitely taught me that I highly recommend everyone is we need to stop complaining so much. I think that's huge for me because I think one of the reasons I act a lot and fix is because I don't know how to really complain. Like I don't really like the concept. I also think the people that listen to you complaining are just either enablers or other people that like to complain so they're waiting for their turn. And so I think we need more accountability and I'm incredibly accountable. If I am unhappy, I don't think it's the president's fault. I don't think it's my parents' fault. I don't think it's anyone's fault but myself and I'm in control and so I act on it. That's the insight there. I study 24/7. I will tonight, after I have dinner with my parents, lay in their apartment from 11 or 12, whenever we're done, to 1, I will spend at least an hour studying what's happening in popular culture. I study so much, it's scary. By the way, while I was getting D's and F's, I was studying. I memorized the price of every baseball card in the world. I'm being dead serious. By the time I was in high school, I read the Wine Spectator cover to cover and was studying to understand every wine, what wines. I've been studying. I only study. Where I'm going with this, my man, is I just want to make sure that a couple things happen. First, I promise you that everyone in this room that's 35 years and older wishes they enjoyed their childhood a little more fun, a little more playing, a couple more times to hang out. We were all so focused on where we were going, we weren't able to fully maximize what we were in. You're 14 years old, like you're actually, especially with, I don't know if anybody's paying attention to modern medicine, this dude's gonna live for 130 more years. Like actually, this dude's gonna be 150 years old one day on Earth still. So, bro, you got a lot of time. And so, here's what I will say. And this is actually a lot of fun because this actually goes for all the 40 and 50 year olds in the crowd as well who think they've wrapped up back to modern medicine and the fact that the far majority, as I look around here, pretty much the majority of this room isn't at halftime in their lives. I would tell you to get really focused on something called curiosity. If I could give you one good piece of advice, the biggest mistake that kids make in high school is they're worried about high school social dynamics. And so they don't go do things that they want to do or learn about because it might not be cool or their friend group might not be about it. So if you're into theater or if you're into science or robotics or comedy, or I have no idea what's running through your mind that catches your eye on YouTube or TikTok or things of that nature, but the way you're gonna find what you should do in life in the best way, the way the people that are the happiest at what they do, is you gotta go try it. You like comedy? Go try to do a stand-up set somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, go try stuff, because you don't know if you love it until you try it. I think of life the way I think about food. Watch this, kid. How many people here do not like oysters? Raise your hand. It's okay. Just raise it high. Raise it higher, please, for the little guy. Okay, of those people, keep your hands up, do not like oysters. Don't lie. How many have never had one? That's life, brother. That is the thing I'm most interested in, what I just showed you in real life. A lot of people make decisions without ever trying. Here's my punchline. I think people spend way too much time on negativity. I don't know what to really tell you. And so there's a lot of people unhappy because you consume unhappy things, the news, and you hang around unhappy people, relatives that are unhappy. And I don't think you should cut out and no longer talk to your homies. You know, like, I hate when people hear it and think they've outgrown their friends and they want to get bougie. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying pay attention to everybody you spend time with and what you consume. And you know, like that whole saying when we were growing up, like, you become who you hang out with, like, it's just super real. Like, whatever you're consuming is what's dictating your point of view. And so I think the way you do that, because I believe in loyalty so much. I'm incredibly loyal to my friends. I'm still in touch with everybody I've ever grown up with, but my allocation of time with them may be different than it was when I was best friends with them when I was 10 or 20. And so I would tell you, you don't have to cut people out of your life, but you need to communicate to them why you're limiting your time with them. And by the way, that may inspire them to look inside and pay attention to what they're thinking about. It's fun to have my dad here because this was a very big thing that I was passionate about naturally in my teenage years. You know, I would tell my dad, like, I was a very unusual kid in that, like, I was obsessed with business, and I would talk, my dad and mom lived about 45 minutes away from my dad's store, and so we had long drives both to and from the store, and you know, I talked a lot in those drives, and my dad would listen and we would talk. And I remember being passionate with my dad in my teenage years and in my early 20s of, like, it doesn't matter what our competition does. It really doesn't. Like, as long as we focus on the consumer. And I think I've always innovated because, and Avery and Nick, who are with me on my journey in VaynerX, like, they are probably laughing inside. I can't even name most of the companies that VaynerX and VaynerMedia compete with. I definitely can't name the CEOs of my competitors. Like, it's just irrelevant. And so what I think happens when you just focus on the customer, actually, like, no bullshit, like, focused 100% energy on the customer, you end up innovating because you're so close to the customer, you have a pulse of what they want now, not what worked for someone else yesterday. People are really good at you should.
Oh, totally.
People are really,
yeah, 100%.
The world has become remarkable at should instead of doing what they should be doing.
Right.
The only person that you should be deploying should on is yourself.
Right.
But we love to deploy should on everyone else.
Yeah.
People have gotten really good at telling everybody else what they should be doing and not telling themselves what they should be doing. I'll tell you something, what you should be doing is focusing on yourself instead of spending all your time on the internet telling other people what you should be doing.
Yes, yes. Do you know how often?
It's insane how crazy it is to deploy judgment and negativity on other people at scale.
Right.
What a wild life.
Right.
What a wild life.
Totally.
I really have compassion and empathy and sympathy for those people.
Yeah.
I really do. I have no anger towards them. Zero.
Right.
Zero. Even when it's slung at me.
Right.
Zero. I really understand, but I really don't want that for them.
Right. Totally.
I don't think they understand the cocoon they're in.
Totally.
The fucking hamster wheel of fucking darkness that is.
Your line of love him or hate him, Michael Jordan never left hate comments on the internet is like the ultimate.
Yeah, I really believe that.
You know?
I don't think people that, this is my big issue with people that are happy, is they're not loud enough. Like, the world's backwards right now. The people that are most unhappy are spending all their time trying to tear everyone else down.
Right.
Or razz them, or zing them, or should them. And then the people that are happy are too silent.
Right.
And not deploying love towards others enough.
That's exactly right.
I feel like that's what we're feeling.
And hate's almost the cool, trendy thing to do.
Of course, trolling.
Right.
They rebranded it as a cool thing.
Yeah,
I'm just trolling. I'm like, cool. You're just wasting your time in negativity.
100%.
I mean, look, I love a good razz. I love a good joke. I love stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
But like genuinely allocating a lot of your time with the hope that it will hurt someone else's feelings is like a really bad strategy.
We went to VCon and saw the Schultz stand up. That is, but people have to understand, like, that is by the way, if you're not at VCon 2024, you're a bozo, okay?
Bozo.
Feel free to run ads behind that, right?
August 8th to 11th, Los Angeles.
But that was the...
No, but a lot of people are like, because for context, Andrew Schultz, the incredible comedian, razzed me good.
Hilarious.
And like a lot of people, and I had a lot of like high school and college friends there who like thought it was the best, of course. And then just other people who don't know me, they're like, yo. And I was like, yo, what? I'm like, the ultimate is to get into a place where one of the great contemporary comedians of the time has got you in their mouth.
100%.
That's the best. And plus, if you can't laugh at yourself, then you're finished.
Do you think we're pivoting? I look at life as like a pendulum.
I do.
I feel like we're, at least from what I'm seeing in real life and on the internet, it feels like we're swinging back to thicker skin. We can start
I think
not walk on thin ice as
That's
much
right.
as like even 18 months ago, 11 months ago.
Yeah, I think people got, I think when you cancel everything, you cancel nothing.
Right.
I think that we should give people grace to, try to figure out what's up.
Right.
Taking this all the way back to how we got here, it goes back to people telling a viral video of how you figured out an opportunity in arbitrage that was incredibly fair. You bought something, you sold something, you didn't steal anything, you didn't make anybody buy anything. You didn't, you didn't knock on someone's home and like shove a $300 vacuum into their face and then punch them and then take their wallet and take I mean, do you know how many of those people that said you should have go to work and barely are working right now behind their screen and taking someone's money that's paying them and not working? Like, there's so much that, like, if you want to, let's put all 8 billion people on stage and analyze everything they do.
Right.
You can say you should have to everyone about 1 million things.
Right. Totally.
1 million.
Yeah.
1 million.
Yeah,
there's not a human on earth that is not walking around that doesn't have 6, 7, 10, 11 shortcomings. Some of them are meaningful shortcomings.
Right.
Some are neglecting their children. Some are talking horribly to their spouses. Some people are literally, we had an employee recently who had like 7 jobs while he was working here because it was remote. Like,
taking
there's a
side hustle to the next level, huh?
Yeah, there's a million things that go on
Yeah.
that one can, and by the way, there's another bigger thing. This goes to the real point. People have different frameworks of what they think is wrong and right.
Right. 100%.
I think it's wrong to give 8th place trophies. I think it makes kids incredibly insecure and makes them fear losing.
Totally.
Many parents, great friends of mine, completely disagree with me, and I respect that.
Right.
Our complete and utter inability to respect other people's opinions that don't match yours and to have civility when they don't match yours has completely evaporated.
Yeah.
The audacity of humans today. As if your opinion of how the world should be is the only one and right.
Right.
That is obnoxious.
100%. And even more obnoxious that everyone has some sort of following now to voice their opinion and now feel even more entitled to,
Yeah, I just don't understand. Like, cool, you have 17,000 followers. Mazel tov.
Right.
What now?
Right.
Like, I don't get it.
100%.
Like, as if. Only 113 of them are actually paying attention to you anyway.
Right.
I
Exactly.
love when people are like, I got 4 million followers. I'm like, you got 8,000.
I'm always talking about conversion rates with this one.
Yeah,
Coming from the sales world.
Of course.
100 people see it, 2 people actually read it.
Of course.
Maybe 1 buys. I know you've hinted at it in the past. Is there ever a world where you kind of collectively boil everything down at Vayner and just kind of peacefully go about doing the flip life full time? Like, is there I know it's been in talks.
No. I love that you've heard that from me because I don't say it often. There is often, and I'll try to put a number on it, there are 12 to 25 times a year, which is up from never a decade ago. So that is the interesting data point there. There's 12 to 25 times a year where I think about piecing out. Like just either doing one of two things, completely stop making content and run my businesses in the dark,
right?
VaynerX, VFriends, or completely piecing out for real, selling everything in garage selling full time,
right?
Or completely piecing out, selling everything and opening up like some weird destination in some rural place like the middle of Pennsylvania that people can come to and schedule time and bang out an hour of like mental conversation, like what I love to do, like why I'm already 10 minutes late on this. Like I love talking to people. And so, exactly. Like just never shave again,
right?
And just look crazy. And so, I'm fascinated by those feelings in my body.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated that wasn't even a consideration a decade ago. And does that mean that I'm building more momentum towards actually doing that? And I'm where there's smoke, there's fire. Like even as I'm talking right now, I'm like, fuck, these are gonna be the clips that people look at in 16 years when I peace.
Right.
If I peace. And then there's, and by the way, the 12 to 25 times where I go into that mind place, usually within 5 minutes or definitely within that same day before I go to sleep, I'm like, nah, I got to, you know what I mean? But
everyone at Vayner's just on edge.
Look, I mean, I've made myself very clear to Vayner. I've told Vayner every time I address the company, I'm like, if I sell Vayner or if I peace out, everybody quit.
Right. Talk about burning the boats, huh? Yeah.
I just don't think it could be the same. I don't think most people are at Vayner for many other reasons than besides the very unique thing that I've built.
Right.
They just have too many other options.
Right.
And I think the unique thing I've built goes back to some of the themes of this conversation, which is you can be professionally successful. You can build a real business. You can do things in your life.
Right.
And that doesn't compromise you being a nice person.
Totally.
This demonization of effort or success or go getting it or selling, it's really, it's a lazy point of view.
Totally.
It's a lazy, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
Like everybody you've ever admired, if you're the most anti-business, the nonprofits, the politicians, the thought leaders, the authors that you admire that gave you the point of view of like, they all put in the work.
Right. Totally. 100%.
So I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Is there something amazing that you've seen as a commonality amongst some of the amazing people you've interviewed? And then number two, because I'm also a major Tony Robbins fan, and he's had a major influence in my life, is there something about Tony that maybe sticks out to you because he's the best of the best at what he does? You've done stuff with him that sticks out to you. Like, are there things or people that really make you aspire? Not just motivate you, but aspire.
I'll do the Tony part first. I mean, I think Tony has achieved what I see in a lot of people as well, which is I think Tony does what Tony was supposed to do. Do you know what I mean? Like this goes back to why I'm obsessed with self-awareness. And obviously there's examples of like Tony and Kobe and all other people. But then my mom is that person. My mom was meant to be a mother. And like, no bullshit. There's no one who's done it better. It may not get the headlines. It may not get the public awards. Many people may not know it. Obviously, I've been a loud advocate for her and so many more people know it. But, I love seeing people when they're doing what they're supposed to do. And that's what stands out for Tony. As far as, I have a very, very distinct answer for you, brother. The people that you're referring to in question one have all gotten to their place in the world based on one of two extremes: deep, deep, deep insecurity or deep, deep, deep self-esteem and gratitude. It's a wild ass thing for me at 48 to see how clear this is. The people that achieve outsized results that then allow the masses to look at them. It's fucking Star Wars, Doc. It's literally Jedis and Sith Lords. It's like the good and the bad at extreme levels. But just like Star Wars, like it's not sustainable when you're on the dark side. It's why so many famous and successful and wealthy people have such dramatic burnouts, deaths, suicides, like these supernovas. Like think about my friends, think about all the most famous artists and comedians that pass away at such young ages. It was the dark side that got them there. This is why I talk about we can't put money on a pedestal. Too many people get to money through jealousy, envy, and negativity. Yeah, Doc, I'll tell you the thing that completely binds everybody that I've ever interviewed or anybody I've ever seen up close, and I've seen a lot of them, of wealth and fame. It's either light or dark, and fucking bad news. Most of it's dark. I think it's why I'm so compelled to communicate about the things that I'm talking about. It takes more time and it's more challenging to that's not true. Let me say it differently. It's just unfortunate that it takes super fuel to get you to the top. That's not unfortunate, it makes sense. It's just unfortunate that most people's super fuel is coming from a place of resentment or a chip on a shoulder. I'll show you, mom, dad, like girlfriend, boyfriend, husband. Like it's unfortunate. Like it's funny, I made this analogy to a friend a couple years ago. I haven't thought about this since, and this is the only time I've ever said it publicly. Something happened to me where I understood my fuel was weird and different than all the other people in my 20s and 30s. And I compared it to like going to the gas station where there was like the weird like diesel fuel pump and everybody else had the normal shit. And I was like, I'm the diesel fuel. Like I feel like I'm getting here on a different energy length. And I'd want more people to get to the top through gratitude and kindness and empathy and compassion and civility and patience, and that's why VeeFriends exists, because I know I can't scale it by myself. I talk to a lot of nonprofits. It's something that I am passionate about. I sit on multiple boards, but I take a lot of meetings and do a lot of spec work and consulting. And the issue with people that are doing good is, this is a very, 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 very distinct sentence that I'm about to say. Because they're doing something remarkable, they're audacious in their expectation of others, and they lack empathy that people have different things that they want to support. And just because you're doing something good doesn't mean that you're supposed to give their attention and or money to someone.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I get that.
Yeah, and I see it a lot. Like it really fucks with good people like yourself. It's like, they don't realize they're judging people without knowing people. There are multiple people here on this. Like when I hear what you're saying, it like strikes me right down the center. You're like wonderful. It's amazing. Yet.
It's pretty cool, right?
It's very cool.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, my parents are driving my brother home right now from a colonoscopy because AJ has Crohn's disease. And my parents are still driving him, I'm 40, at 37 years old to his colonoscopies because it's incredibly emotional to them. And they want to take their energy, time, and money and support that, right? And then everyone here has all sorts of shit going on, right? Yeah. And I'm sure, there's just so much. And so, I think the first thing you have to do is first make sure that you know that you have to battle for attention and awareness just like everyone else. And every celebrity and every entity that you go to, they get asked 4,000 times. I was asked to give money in donation 1,700 times in the month of November. In direct email, not even DMs.
Yeah, that's huge.
But just think about what that means, right? Like I'm just trying to put it into perspective of the asks, and I'm not the most famous guy. So just think.
Hell yeah, you are.
So what I'm saying is, couple things. You need to build a communications infrastructure, and you need to figure, the reason I love TikTok is you make one video with one feel-good story and it gets 39 million views. The Good Morning America can't do that for you. Oprah tweeting can't do that for you. Like people don't understand, it's a social media strategy world. social media content gets free distribution. Do you know how insane that is? The first 15 years of social media, these companies that I invested in, Facebook and Twitter and all that was more like email. You would have to amass followers for a long period of time, then you would post and a percentage of them would see it. The social media we live in now with these AI algorithms is you make one good piece of content and your life changes. So you have to become remarkable at making content. You know what's so funny? Show me the clip where I've said define your niche.
Gary, I don't know. I'm sure it's there. Ask Corso.
No, be careful. There's a Garyvee search engine. Go type in define your niche, go find it. Go show me. Okay. There's a lot of crazy hardcore Garyvee fans here. I have a very funny feeling that a lot of you are gonna back me up on this. I am not a big define your niche. I'm a you are your niche guy. Like I'm done.
We've had this talk, so all of you people shaking your head.
I mean.
Anthony, don't y'all do that to me, because we've had this talk. Okay, so that's good, because that is kind of my niche, and I love to help the people that are,
I actually don't even understand what you're saying. Meaning, it sounds like you're happy and you're building. Why would, what do you
I don't want to focus solely on bookkeeping. I don't want to solely focus on business management or like branding or like social media. I just want it to be broad for the...
You want to do small business consulting, and you will come, and by the way, let me give you a business model. I will come and audit your business to tell you what you should do with me. So you're gonna pay me $5,000 just for my time to understand everything, and then I'll tell you pricing on all these other things I feel I can help you with.
Exactly, that is perfect. Yes, because I love the full range of services, and I've already scaled as far as the things that are taking me, too much time that of course I can do, because I want to be able to do everything in the business, not just, I don't want to do something that I can't do myself.
I get it.
So I've hired people for different things like that. So I just want to make sure that I'm on the right page there. And then the only other thing, as far as scaling and then using people out of the country, my good friend Robert that is on here has hooked me up with some different people that I can use. Do I just hide the fact that I'm using someone out of the country? Because a lot of people are not comfortable with that.
Yeah, I mean,
and I personally am vetting the person for a few months before.
Honestly, I genuinely think that that's a personal decision, right? Like, at the end of the day, if anyone asks you directly if you're using subcontractors, you have to answer honestly. As far as do you need to lead with that? I'm not necessarily sure you have to. I think there's a very strong argument that I've heard from both sides of the equation on this, and I think you're allowed to decide what works for you, Monica. I don't think there's a right or wrong to that. Robert says I would say no. You don't have to do that, Monica. Other people I've talked to feel very passionate that you should. I'm agnostic on this one. I think this is more of, when it starts blurring into like, does one think this is a moral issue or not? That's where it gets a little complicated. And so I think I'm incredibly comfortable with you deciding what's right for you, and there is no right answer on that.
Why do you think it's important for entrepreneurs to embrace discomfort to succeed?
Because there's no option. That was it. But I mean it, right? For the pause for effect is because there's no option. The only thing, how many people in the audience, I know this is a podcast and they're listening, I'm doing this selfishly, are parents? Raise your hands. When you become a parent, something changes. You realize you're the last line of defense for this human. And it changes, it triggers something in you. Your life changes. You don't sleep the same way. There's something else that you massively have to worry about in addition to your own safety. Well, that's the truth of entrepreneurship. Like, especially when you go global, I have a global company. What people are like, how do you wake, like everyone's pushing us for healthier behavior. I have a lot of great healthy behaviors. I sleep a ton, which is always confusing to people. They think I'm one of these, like, I sleep 6, 7, 8 hours because I need it, because I'm on when I'm awake. I eat very clean. I do a lot of good things. One thing I don't do that is considered a good thing to do is the second I wake up, I grab my phone so fast, you couldn't even imagine. Not because I want to, because it's my responsibility. I have to look if anything happened in Singapore or in San Francisco. Like it's my responsibility. I'm always on. We just got out of the holidays. It's my favorite time when the whole world is off, because it's the only time that I can vacation. I can't take a normal vacation. I have too much responsibility, because even if I did take a week off next week, I can't be calm. There's too much going on, and I'm gonna come back to it. It's not like when when you work somewhere, you leave, like you can actually get away from that week some way, somehow. Not when you own something. So it's an intense game, but why should they get comfortable? It's because they have no options. You know, I think for people that are entrepreneurs, and really actually I think about this in the context of life, I think that we have it a little bit misunderstood. I think in general, the journey of the game of business and entrepreneurship is a constant flow of micro losing with the occasional macro win, if it goes great. You know, so for me, confessions, I mean, there's been so many mistakes. As a matter of fact, the book that the audience has, it's called 12 and a half. It's because in the book I talk about the fact that candor as a leader has been very hard for me, which is always shocking for people who follow me on social media, because as Garyvee, candor is actually my ultimate strength. I get to it. In this interview, candor will be my strength. But in real life, when I'm an executive, and really as a human being, the more I know you and care about you, the harder it was for me to tell you the things that I was struggling with that you were doing. And so I think about all the sloppy firings in my 20s and 30s in my family wine business, and even in VaynerMedia early on, that could have been done so much more gracefully, could have been so much more clear. I used to let people sit around the company for 3, 6, 12, 24 months longer than they should have.
Really?
Really, and so I thought I was being a good guy, right? I was saying like, oh, well, I'm paying them and they stink. And in reality, even 18 months later, when finally in a roundabout way they would get fired, they would be double angry. And it was because I wasn't able to give feedback along the way. I wasn't able to be candorous. So it's a huge, huge vulnerability that I'm so glad I'm making progress on.
So you've changed that now. If someone's not doing something, we talked about this earlier. Do you give them scope to improve, or do you just say this is not working, bang? There's a lot to this. Maybe I should lay down on this couch. My father, who I worked for from 14 to 34, was very good at candor. The problem was it was delivered with venom. Right.
And I wasn't able to discern the delivery mechanism from the value of the candor. So I demonized candor because I viewed it as fear. And I think all of us here know that many times when people have been given critical feedback, that person ran back and went to their LinkedIn and started looking for another job. Because we didn't land the reason I call it kind candor is I think, I have a lot of respect for the concept of radical candor. I have a lot of respect for candor. But I think what is required is kind candor. And now don't mistake the word kind for delusional and entitlement. Kind candor. So it's a very fine line to tell someone you are falling short, subjectively in my opinion. A lot of times when leaders leave feedback to people and giving them feedback, they act as if it's absolute truth. It's absolute truth from their subjective opinion, but they happen to be in a position where they have to make that subjective call. So finding that balance has been quite challenging. But I've made a million business mistakes. I passed on Uber twice in the angel round. If I wrote the normal $25,000 to $50,000 check that I was writing back then as an investor, I would have made $500 million.
Yeah, that's a big mistake.
That's a big mistake. That one hurts.
But you've owned it, and
well,
you move on, or you still talk about it? Of course I talk about it because, when people are like, well, you invested in Facebook and Twitter and Tumblr and like, it can look real good, but like, yes, and I did really well. But I thought Yobongo was gonna be the biggest app I ever invested in. Now, to my credit, Yobongo was 2 years earlier than Tinder, and Tinder was a very big success. So when I saw Yobongo, I'm like, wait, you can know the people around you? I'm like, yeah, people are gonna hook up. And I got it, but what I learned by passing on Uber, and I invested in Uber a little bit after that, but by the time the valuation changed, it changed my outcome dramatically. It was still very early. My brother AJ took the first Uber in Manhattan, so it was early, but it wasn't early enough for this game-changing thing. But in that window of investing in Yobongo because I loved the idea, and not investing in Uber early enough because I underestimated what the power of a good operator meant, I learned a lot, which is today I invest first based on what I think about the person, second about what I think about the idea. Entrepreneurship is uncomfortably lonely. For all the people that are sitting here that live in corporate jobs and put entrepreneurs or fantasize about doing their own thing, people are like, Gary, I want to leave my job and be my own boss. I'm like, being an entrepreneur and CEO means everyone's your boss. I work for everyone that's sitting in that front row. And I really feel that, actually no bullshit. Am I allowed to curse?
No.
Oh. What's great about entrepreneurship is you make your own rules. So, I think, the grass is always greener. Entrepreneurship is my great passion. I spoke about it rapidly, amassing my audience, and then I had to take a step back 5 to 7 years ago and say, wait a minute, I grew up when entrepreneurship was demonized and not even cool. Everybody had to go to uni and get great grades. Now we've flipped too far in the other direction. I better start talking about entrepreneurship's not for everyone, because it's not. The amount of people that go into entrepreneurship because it's cool and then find themselves incredibly depressed, because the thing about entrepreneurship is it's like sports. You can't hide when you fail. When you get fired at a job, it's your boss's fault, right? But when you start a company and it goes out of business, there's nowhere to hide. And the world has fallen in love with blaming everyone. Governments, parents, companies, systems, social networks. The world has become remarkably good at blaming everyone. We do not like accountability. Entrepreneurship is the ultimate accountability. I say to my company all the time because it's true, 100% of what's wrong at VaynerMedia is 100% my fault. Because it's true. Because if you're mad at somebody over here or over here, well, I hired that person, or I hired the person that hired that person. And I have the ability to do something about it. Nobody in my company of the 2,000 employees globally has 100% autonomy to do anything about it, about anything other than me. So when you start to understand what that game is, that is not for everyone.